happened when Darth Vader fought Darth Maul. Darth Maul and Darth Vader were two of the most fearsome lightsaber duelists to ever exist. In Star Wars Legends, Vader faced a doppelganger of the deceased Maul. He had been created by a dark side cult and possessed all the same skills and abilities of the original Maul. During their duel, Maul mocked Vader for being a Jedi, landing a few blows against the Dark Lord. Maul seemingly beat Vader, but just before he could land the killing blow, Vader stabbed himself through the stomach, also impaling the Zabrak warrior. Palpatine then showed up to congratulate Vader, claiming to have nothing to do with Maul's resurrection.
Why did Vader never upgrade his suit? Vader's suit was slow, heavy and cumbersome, while also causing him a great deal of pain and many sleepless nights. In Legends, Vader had the chance to upgrade his suit. This suit would have allowed him to come closer to his full potential, giving him the speed of Anakin Skywalker but the strength of a droid. However, this procedure was risky and would have possibly led to the Sith Lord's death. Secondly, the suit itself was a reminder to Vader of all the evil things he had done, as well as keeping him in near constant agony, deepening his connection to the dark side. By upgrading his suit, Vader would have likely become a far more powerful duelist, but he would have lost a large part of what made Vader, Vader. Less physical pain would have given him a clearer mind, thus resulting in the resurgence of Anakin Skywalker and the regrettable memories that brought him.
What did Darth Vader do on his days off? Unlike his master, who enjoyed the luxuries of power and espousing his views in various books, Vader preferred a more minimalist lifestyle. Even on his days off, Vader spent them practicing lightsaber combat, meditating on the dark side, and focusing on how to destroy the rebels. Vader also spent time tinkering with his suit and his ship, suggesting there was still a bit of Anakin left in him. Within his meditation chamber, the Dark Lord spent much of his time trying to heal his charred lungs, as well as contemplating the many mistakes he had made, further strengthening his connection to the dark side. What did Darth Vader write about in his diary? In a completely non-canon comic, two stormtroopers were tasked with cleaning out the Dark Lord's living quarters. To their surprise, they found that Vader actually had a diary. Vader's first entry recorded the time he received a new helmet, which he thought looked much more menacing. Vader also wrote about his worries in telling his son he was his father, fearing that he may reject him. The Sith also noted his dislike of meetings, saying he much preferred doing evil, illustrating this with a series of pictures. The diary also went into detail about an incurable rash that had been annoying him for ages. Most sad of all was an entry about when he believed his stormtroopers may be throwing a birthday party for him. When he found out that it was actually a party for another stormtrooper, he became mentally unstable and tried to call his long-dead mother. Moved by what they read, the stormtroopers quietly wished the Dark Lord happy birthday when they next saw him.
This is what Obi-Wan thought the first time he saw Darth Vader. A few months after Order 66, Kenobi would ponder whether he should have left his friend to die on Mustafar. Coincidentally, a holonet detailing how an Imperial enforcer had hunted down a group of Jedi on Kashyyyk disturbed Kenobi's peace. When it was revealed that the enforcer's name was Vader, Kenobi would be filled with dread and panic. A local would advise him not to mention Vader again, telling Kenobi he had enslaved all the inhabitants of Kashyyyk. Filled with regret, Kenobi would wonder if his abandonment had resulted in Anakin falling further to the dark side, further filling Kenobi with pain and regret. What did Obi-Wan think when Vader killed Palpatine? Obi-Wan and Yoda originally believed that Anakin had been so consumed by the dark side that he couldn't possibly be redeemed back to the light. When Luke handed himself into the Empire in an attempt to turn Vader to the light, Kenobi was filled with regret that he didn't do more to convince Luke that Vader was irredeemable. In fact, Obi-Wan was urging Luke to kill Vader during their duel on the second Death Star. When Vader threw his master down the elevator shaft to save Luke, Kenobi was shocked and would later be filled with regret that he did not see the goodness buried deep down in his former apprentice. He would later remember an old teaching from his former master, Qui-Gon Jinn, about forgiveness, and would realise that his unwillingness to forgive and accept Anakin for his crimes had ultimately pushed him further to the dark side. Why did Palpatine purposely make Vader's suit weak? For decades, Palpatine had planned on using the Chosen One's immense power to destroy the Jedi and use him as a tool for his new empire. However, Palpatine's hopes and dreams would be crushed after Vader's little accident on Mustafar. Attempting to punish him for his failures, Palpatine would order a suit to be made that was heavy, slow, and especially vulnerable to electric currents. What's more, the suit caused Vader constant pain, designed to remind Vader of his biggest failure. However, Vader was able to use the weaknesses of the suit and the pain it caused him to his advantage, fueling his dark side power and strength in the Force. He would prove Palpatine wrong by becoming the galaxy's most successful Jedi killer, thus ensuring a place at the Emperor's side. What happened to the girl that hit on Darth Vader? After the death of Padme, the Dark Lord of the Sith showed little affection towards anyone. His monstrous nature also meant that few women sought to woo the Dark Lord of the Sith. However, there was one. A young nurse of the Dark Lord became obsessed with Vader, even going so far as to collect pieces of shrapnel that she had removed from his body. She called them souvenirs of their unspoken love and forget-me-nots. In her dreams, she imagined marrying and kissing the Dark Lord, hoping to see him without his mask. She imagined how he would protect her as she cared for his wounds and every need. On one occasion, Vader forgets to take his cape and she gives it a good sniff, adding it to her box of forget-me-nots. However, the Doctor catches her throwing her souvenirs into the trash compactor. She even goes into the trash compactor to find her beloved box. She decides that the time has come to confront the man she loves and tells him he's beautiful. However, Vader only stares at her blankly before shoving his lightsaber into her chest, killing her instantly.
What happened when Darth Vader visited Padme's grave? When Darth Vader was encased in his metal suit and learned of Padme's death, almost all remnants of Anakin Skywalker died. Engulfed in pain and guilt, Vader tried his best to bury any thoughts of his wife. Due to the constant medical attention he required after the events of Mustafar, he missed her funeral. However, under direct orders from Palpatine, Padme's body was not to be cremated and was placed in a mausoleum on Naboo. After experiencing false visions of Padme blaming him for her death, he eventually went and visited her grave, paying his respects to his dead wife for the first time and, as far as we know, also the last time. How did Darth Vader kill so many Jedi? Darth Vader became the most proficient Jedi killer of all time, hunting down many of the Order's finest who had survived Order 66. As well as being a powerful Force sensitive with an immensely strong cybernetic suit, his knowledge of the Jedi fighting techniques and Force abilities allowed him to exploit fatal Jedi weaknesses. Notably, he exploited their compassion by targeting civilians and Jedi apprentices to lure out his prey, instilling great fear in the remaining Jedi. He used this fear to his advantage, taunting his opponents to further weaken their connection to the light side of the Force, the true source of a Jedi's power. This power also allowed him to see into the minds of his opponents, allowing him to work out the best way of defeating them, giving him a massive advantage over the Jedi. Darth Vader ever tried to free the slaves? As a boy, a young Anakin Skywalker had dreams of returning to Tatooine and freeing the slaves. However, Anakin grew up to be the right-hand man of the most brutal ruler the galaxy had ever seen. When he discovered that the Empire was using slaves, he confronted his master. Palpatine was surprisingly understanding, claiming that he had forgot Vader had once been a slave himself. However, he went on to explain that slavery on Tatooine benefited no one but the slave master, but that slavery in the Empire was beneficial to the whole galaxy and a merciful alternative to death. Standing in shocked silence, Vader accepted his master's explanation, and he never brought up the issue of Imperial slavery again. What happened when Darth Vader encountered C-3PO on Cloud City? After C-3PO was blasted to pieces on Cloud City, the parts were brought to Vader. When laying eyes upon the droid, he experienced a vision of himself as a young slave boy, and the great excitement that finding and fixing the droid had brought him. However, the flashback would take a dark turn, and he remembered the horrendous conditions he and his mother had suffered as a slave. Disgusted by this memory, he ordered that the droid be dismantled and melted down. However, C-3PO was rescued by Chewbacca, before soon falling into the hands of Vader once more. The Dark Lord experienced another flashback of his mother's encouragement of a young Anakin to fix and rebuild the droid. Vader then showcased the light that was still within him, ordering the Imperials to return the droid to Chewbacca. Why was the Obi-Wan vs Vader duel on the Death Star so anticlimactic? Vader's duel with Obi-Wan on the first Death Star does not involve many of the acrobatic stunts or impressive swordsmanship seen in the other duels. This is largely due to the history that the pair shared, with Vader being especially cautious during this duel. Vader was keenly aware of his defeat on Mustafar, a fact he was constantly reminded of by the excruciating pain he suffered within his suit. Therefore, Vader feared Obi-Wan and his incredibly efficient defensive lightsaber style, and took extra precaution against the Jedi Master, in the fear he would be defeated for a second time, leading to a duel that many have described as anticlimactic. Happened when Vader discovered a Luke Skywalker imposter. After the destruction of the Death Star, Luke Skywalker had become a legendary figure. At a bar, some random guy was pretending to be Luke Skywalker, using it to get free drinks and impress everyone there. He told them he was the best pilot in the galaxy, attempting to convince the crowd to employ him to do smuggling jobs. However, out of the shadows, a dark figure appeared. Towering over him, Vader asked him if he claimed the name of Skywalker. Now gripped in a Force choke, the man tried to explain that he wasn't really Luke Skywalker. He responded in a very Vader-like way, telling him that by tomorrow, no one will even remember that he lived. Vader then told the onlookers that anyone who claims the name of Skywalker also claims his crimes and will therefore result in their death. Why doesn't Darth Vader use Force Lightning? Force Lightning had become synonymous with the Sith and the dark side by the time of the Clone Wars. Despite this, Vader did not, primarily due to his suit. However, other Sith that utilized cybernetic suits, such as Darth Malgus, could still use Force Lightning. So why couldn't Vader? Palpatine purposely built the suit to be lower quality and extremely conductive of electricity. He did this in order to weaken Vader, preventing him from ever overthrowing his master. As a side effect of Palpatine's machinations, it prevented the Dark Lord from being able to use Force Lightning, just in case he accidentally fried his own life support system. Happened to Obi-Wan's lightsaber. After his death, the death of Obi-Wan at the hands of Darth Vader was a bewildering moment for the Dark Lord, his body fading away and leaving behind only his Jedi robes and, of course, his lightsaber. Vader kept Obi-Wan's saber as a trophy, representing his victory over the man who had caused him so much pain. Vader even kept Kenobi's saber with him when pursuing Luke Skywalker, inadvertently saving the lightsaber from the destruction of the Death Star. Vader then took it to the former castle of Count Dooku on Vajun, where he displayed it as a centerpiece. After the fall of the Empire, it would be reclaimed by Luke Skywalker, who took it back to his new Jedi Order as a reminder of his old friend.